Hey Sawyer, do you want to be part of my next video where I talk about the Florida housing market crash and how it's about to become a buyer's market?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Not me. I want to swim.
All right, away we go. All right, well, I'm sure my wife's going to kill me because she's going to tell me that the house is not clean enough for me to be making a video for YouTube. But nonetheless, I wanted to showcase some activity that's happened in my hyper-local market. And I'm going to do a deep dive on exactly what's happening in the market right now, how we are certainly in for a housing market crash, what that looks like. I'll compare that to the recent past, but more importantly, I'll trace that back to where I think the market's going, which of course is 2019. But let's not forget about the elephant in the room. Let's also talk about what it used to look like back in the real estate apocalypse, apocalypse of 2008, right? The reason I'm walking across the street and giving you this little snapshot is the home behind me was listed for sale, right? They listed it at 1.31, and that's current. That's in this market. It sold in 3 days at 1.35. Nobody else knows that, but I'm friends with the listing agent, and I point that out only to highlight that markets within markets are very different. If you have the right home, priced the right way, marketed the right way, there is tremendous demand right now in this market. So we're going to do a deep dive right now, get into it, and away we go. All right. It is a great day in South Florida. My name is Chris Igo. Welcome to Living in South Florida. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you are old to the channel, well, thank you for watching, subscribing, and continuing to be part of my journey. All right, so right now we are looking at the Florida housing crash is absolutely bound to happen. Get ready for a buyer's market. And when we look at the data, it demonstrates here in Boynton Beach that there's been a 35% drop in pending sales. This is a lagging indicator. This is from June, but this is very instructive. So in this video, I am going to talk about some of the things that are happening right now, and I'm going to put that into context versus 2019 and also versus 2008, right? It's very important to understand what those markets looked like, but also to be aware of the difference between the noise that's out there, the baloney that's out there, and the real-time data that exists on a boots on the ground perspective of what's happening right now. So I'm going to go deep. I'm going to get granular. I'm going to show you what the numbers are, because the numbers don't lie, right? And we will use that information to govern ourselves accordingly. But let's get right into it. So today, it is Wednesday. It is right now 10:15, which means the Fed is meeting. Very likely they're going to announce a 75 basis point rate hike. And that is not unexpected to me. There are plenty of people out there that are saying, well, maybe they won't do that. There are plenty of people out there that are saying, well, maybe we're not in a recession. And it'll be very interesting to see how the government spins this, because there's been a bunch of like pre-releases that have come up, that have happened recently, where they start to float different test balloons of bad information, and the spin they put on this data is unbelievable. But I don't think anybody can argue that we are in a recession right now. How it's defined is subjective. The government's going to spin that however they want to. They have a vested interest in doing that. If they spook the market, if they scare the consumer, we're in a consumer-based economy. If they freak people out, people stop buying. If people stop buying, well, then we got problems economically. We're already experiencing that, right? So I'm not going to go into a big deep dive on what that is. I just think it's obvious to everyone who's paying attention that all of those things are true. We are in a recession. We have massive inflation. gas prices, food prices, real estate values, this, that, and the other thing. All of those metrics are on the uptick, and they don't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. So that's where we're at right now. If we look at what the interest rate is today, now mind you, I have not looked at what the interest rate is as of, as I'm making this video, but I can promise you that when they raise the interest, when the Fed raises their basis points by 0.75, it is 100% going to have an impact on mortgage rates. So get ready for the spike because it's coming. Now, people want to know, where are interest rates going? They are going higher. Where? Nobody knows. I'm telling you, I suspect they'll be at 9 or 10% soon. Could be wrong. Hope I am. That's what I think it is. But that's where we're at right now. And by the time you've seen this video, all of this will already have played out. So we'll know what the numbers look like. And you can call me Nostradamus. But this really isn't anything. This isn't really a big leap for me to come up with that forecast. All right. This guy seems to be having a problem figuring out how to drive, but I don't. Okay. So driving around the neighborhood, I've done this before. The reason I'm doing it today is I'm going to showcase to you some homes. Actually, I'm going to showcase to you the exact market dynamics that exist here in Canyon Trails. And I can tell you that they are going to be very similar in similar neighborhoods. Now, South Palm Beach County, and I'll be more specific. Well, before I go into that, the real estate market is a misnomer, right? Because the real estate market is such a wide encompassing term that it includes everything. So if someone is talking about the real estate market, I have no idea what they're talking about. If you're looking at headline news and they talk about the real estate market, they're typically talking about national averages. National averages are not, or national trends or whatever it might be, are not at all instructive if you are looking to shop in a certain area, period. Because the market in that particular area is very likely different than whatever the national average is. And it's very likely different than any other place. So for me to sit here and tell you Boynton Beach numbers, it's not very helpful. Do you know what the trend is in Boynton? Sure. But you have no idea what that means granularly in each subdivision. Now, Boynton, just like Delray, just like Boca Raton, is bordered out west by the Everglades and out east by the beach. And so coastal communities are very different. Waterfront communities, oceanfront communities, intercoastal access communities that afford you the ability to live that nautical lifestyle, have a boat in your backyard, jet out there onto the intercoastal, or not jet, boat out there, go out there fishing, go out there in the ocean, do whatever you want, live that lifestyle. Those price points are going to be very different than the central areas of either of, or any of those cities, right? In some of the central areas of those cities, it's older. It's not that it's not nice. It can be very nice, but it varies radically between the central versions of each of those cities. So Boca, pretty much everywhere is nice. Those older homes are pretty much all updated. It's very safe. It's very secure. It's very expensive, period. As you go out west, you tend to have newer products, newer inventory, more modern homes, and that's almost universally true between all three of those cities. So Boynton, Delray, Boca, you're going to have those same similarities. So out west in Boynton, where I live right now, is prime, new, luxury communities built out with resort-style communities and amenities, specifically for families to come in here, max out South Florida living, and thrive. Great schools, everything is new, everything is very close. It is a great place to live. Delray, same thing, ultra luxury, brand new communities. I've done tons of content in all of these areas. So if you're curious about what it's like to live in any of these areas, then please check out the playlists. And I know I've said in other videos that I'll attach the playlists in the video, and then I forget to do it. So I will definitively do that now. And if I don't, then please blow up the comment section and tell me, Chris, you suck. But I don't suck. All right. So I will do that. But I only share that context because you have a wide range of product. You have a wide range of lifestyle. You have a wide range of price points that exist. Coastal, central, out west, period. Keep in mind, out west is at most, from my house to the beach, I'm in West Boynton, it's 15 minutes in the morning, right? So it's not like you're out in the boondocks. You're in a very nice place to live. So let's talk about, real quick, just refresh. Fed's raising interest rates today, right? If they don't, I'll be dipped in I was going to use a bad word. I don't want to get demonetized. I'll be dipped in dog poop if that doesn't happen, okay? Lending rates over the last year have doubled. So, ballpark figure. Last year, this time, they were 3%. Now they're 6%. After this meeting, they may be 7%. Who knows? Yet to be determined. But essentially, it's 100% more expensive in your payment today than it was a year ago, which absolutely 100% impacts the buyers that are able to afford homes. So affordability is absolutely going to become an issue at some point in the future in certain markets. But how is it impacting the market here? Well, in Canyon Trails, the neighbor that I just showed you in the beginning and I talked a little bit about, that home was listed at 1.32, which is a record price within Canyon Trails. It sold in 3 days, and I've got the inside scoop. It's going to close at 135. Okay, so it got multiple offers. It got the price, competing offers that drove the price higher. And the person who bought that home, because I've spoken to him, is absolutely thrilled that he is living his dream home, in his dream lifestyle, in the community that he wants to be in. And he lives across the street in one of the other communities. This is a nicer community for him and his family. So if it's right for you, then now and you can afford it, then now is the right time. But the misconception that the market has fallen off a cliff everywhere is not true. But what has happened, the market has shifted radically. And if only there was somebody who was talking about this, who shared this information. Oh, wait, that's me. I've been doing this for months. I've been talking about this shift for at least 6 months. And I am dedicated to committing to providing you with the best information in real time, boots on the ground, so that you can make the best decision for yourself, for your family, and for your financial bottom line. So I'm going to break down this market in Canyon Trails. I'm also going to talk about the other markets too, because they are instructive, but we're going to stick hyper local and we'll, I talk too much. All right. So 3 days to contract on that home. They're thrilled that they want to be here. Well, why did they want to be here? This is a really nice community. If you can see in front of me, the home with the garage door open, I just waved to them. We're friends with them. They do a boot camp class where they invite the neighbors to. So every morning, or not every morning, but once a week, they have this boot camp class where you can go out there, exercise, meet your neighbors, and just have a great life experience if you're into working out. Separate to that, we just had a summer fair this past weekend, and they had bounce houses and food trucks and water slides and dance contests, limbo sticks, I don't know, everything you could possibly want. Now, full disclosure, it's Florida. It was incredibly hot. But it is what it is. This is Florida. You're maxing out South Florida living, but it's a lot of fun. I met all the neighbors. I already know them, but it was cool to go out there, hang out with my friends, hang out with my friends, my clients, my neighbors, and get to know more people. It's a really friendly community. Okay, somebody's moving in. Shocker.
People want to be here. Why also? What's another reason they want to be here? Well, this area is West Boynton to me and West Delray to me are what Boca used to be like. This is like the new Boca. Everything is new. We've got the best school, elementary school in Palm Beach County in Sunset Palms. They are in the process right now of building Sunset Palms Middle, which will be open for school relatively soon. I don't know what the timeline looks like. I just know that building went up really quick. They just are in the final stages of building out this incredible ballpark within walking distance of this neighborhood. So it is a very convenient place for families to live and have access to the best schools that exist, less than 3 minutes away. That's a big deal. We're also right next to the turnpike, so that gives you access if you have to work or want to travel or hit the airport or Disney or wherever. It's a quick, we're less than 2 miles from the turnpike entrance, which is great if you need to commute. You can be anywhere you want quickly. Separate to that, you got the Everglades out west where there's all kinds of different opportunities, airboat rides, nature trails, fishing, wildlife, farms, organic farms, all kinds of good stuff that you could want to experience. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great place to live. Everything is close. Now, it didn't used to be that way. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this was not the best place to live. It was up and coming. I only give that context because that's exactly what they're doing in some of these newer communities that are out west, that are a little bit more remote, like Westlake, like Arden. They're going to be up and coming, assuming that that progress continues at the clip that it's at. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen because we are going into a recession. We are going into some economic changes. We are going to be feeling the pain at some point here in the near future, and we're already starting to see those builders offer incentives to move products, which is new. They were not particularly friendly or amicable to working with buyer's agents in the past. That's changing. They were not buyer friendly in that they weren't given a whole lot of incentives. In the recent past, they are now. They got to move products. So we're starting to see those things come back into the market. Now, that's not 2008 panic. That's more like 2019. We need to move some inventory. Why? Because in 2019, there was 6 months of inventory. It took a lot longer to sell a home. There were a lot more choices. Today, dynamics are still favorable, right? It's still a seller's market, but that is beginning to change. 35% less sales in June. That is a big clip. It's a big downtick. Inventory is upticking. So we went from a month of inventory of homes for sale to now we're looking at, again, this is June, 2 months of inventory for sale. Well, if we reflect back to what it looked like in 2008, there were 80 months of inventory for sale. So we're not there yet. I don't know that we're going back there. I don't suspect that we are going back there, at least not in this market. But is it possible? Yes. And I want you to know what that looks like because patience, prudence, saving, being intentional about your plan will, like, for example, my buddy Billy, who I know is going to be watching this video, it will be rewarded. Now, not everybody has that patience. Not everybody has that timeline. There are a lot of people who must move now. They want to move now. It's right for them now. The guy who just bought the house across the street from me, my new neighbor, it's right for him. He can afford it, and he's happy to pay a premium for that privilege. So we are seeing a mixed bag of information that exists out there. So right now I'm up at the clubhouse and just wanted you to kind of get a little feel for some of the amenities that are here. And I'm going to take this offline for a second and give you a little walking tour.
All right, I'm switching it up. I usually drive and talk. Now I'm walking and talking, and hopefully my face doesn't look too purple. but it's hot out. But as you can see, this is it's a great community, right? All kinds of tremendous amenities, outdoor basketball. We've got tennis courts, a clubhouse, an incredible pool. You can see that there's a shaded playground for the kids, and I've done lots of videos, and I mean, I play with my kids here all the time, so it's an awesome place to live. And this is where we had the fair this past weekend. I don't know if you can really see that. But it's awesome, right? Got a huge field behind me for soccer, for playing, for sports, for walking your dog. And hopefully if you do go to walk your dog out there, you are kind enough to pick up the dog poop, because that is always a problem. But all right, I have noticed about 50% of you who watch these videos have not yet subscribed. So please subscribe. It means the world to me. It helps the algorithm. It allows me to make more content that you want to see. So if you would, please smash that subscribe button now, give it a thumbs up, and I thank you in advance. All right, I'm going to flip this around so you can see some of the homes that are lakefront, and I'm going to show you a home that I just picked up because I found a deal, and there are deals in here. With more inventory, you've got negotiating power, and you can go out there and get a good deal. But be aware, there is a competitive market. There is still significant demand for the right product in the right location at the right price, and we're still setting record sales here within Canyon Trails, in West Delray, in Boca Raton. It's all very hyper local. Separate to that, there are also areas that are not experiencing that are going to get hammered. They're going to get smashed, and I'll go into what those numbers look like. But for now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour and a tease. That house across the street with the flag in the backyard, I was able to pick that up. I did have to pay over ask. I did have to outbid some of the other buyers that were also competing for that house, but the deal made sense. And I was fortunate enough to be able to be in a position to pick that up. That will be a instant cash flow positive rental property. And fortunately, I was able to pull off some incredible financing before the rates spiked today. So I'm going to give you a little tour of the interior of the amenities, and we'll keep on trucking. All right, so I'm walking up to the clubhouse here at Canyon Trails. And it looks like they are undergoing some improvements, which is great. Hello. How's it going? I'm great. But this is the thing that I like the most. Of course, you got the gym in here. You can see people are in here getting after it. So behind me, there's a yoga studio, men's and women's locker room. You've got a indoor basketball court, a game room, kids play room over there, and a giant clubhouse meeting room with or lounge with full service kitchen. And I've done a bunch of different events in there, which is great, right? So it's a fantastic place to live. And if you think this is good, then you got to see what the bridges look like. 7 bridges, some of the newer GL communities, because they've got even, these are phenomenal, but they've got even next level amenities and more of a country club feel. All right, so let's keep on trucking and and start driving. Well, before I start driving, let me not forget one of the best pieces or features of living here, which of course is the resort style pool. So we can check that out too. maybe not the best video of all that. They're in the process of updating and improving the pool, the clubhouse, and some of the facilities. So a little bit of a reduced tour, but I think you get the idea. All right, now let's get back into the numbers. All right, back in the car or truck, excuse me, and thankfully that is true because it is like 97 degrees out, and with the humidity and heat misery index, it feels like it's a bazillion degrees. So I'm a huge fan of the AC. But all right, so did a little tour of the area or the community, talked a little bit about the numbers, some of the economic conditions that exist. What is probably not as obvious, although I have talked about it in other videos, but it's very important to be aware of. At some point, it is 100% predictable and obvious that the pain of the recession, the pain of inflation, the pain of the affordability crisis is 100% going to cause a Florida housing crash, period. 100% true statement. I don't know when, I don't know how severe. I don't believe it's going to look like 2008, but I do believe it will look like 2019. And I'm going to, again, please stick around because I'm going to do a deep dive on what those numbers are. I will be brief because I don't want to bore anybody to sleep, but it's very important to know what those numbers are. In the interim, so the market's been shifting for months. It's been very obvious for months. I've been doing content and consulting with people for months and years and telling them the truth as to what's going on and what they must do if they need to buy or sell. And I don't know if it's obvious to you guys. Obviously, I make content here on YouTube, but my primary role is I am a boots on the ground operator of a real estate team. We are a high performance team that exists here in this marketplace. So every day we are meeting with buyers and sellers and investors who want what they want when they want it. And so I have the opportunity to connect with everyone in here on a regular basis. And the stat that you don't know, although I've talked about how people have opted in and I track that and hired me from YouTube. I've recently talked about how that dynamic has shifted and now it's more sellers than it is buyers. But what is not talked about, or at least I don't believe I've talked about to a high degree yet, is the amount of potential sellers that I speak to. We are very aggressive in terms of prospecting and finding opportunities because I know, and in fact, I did a video about it, which I will link in here too, called "Every Home is for Sale in Canyon Trails." The sellers just don't know it yet. Well, that is 100% true. When I got aggressive here in the not too distant past of really focusing to see who is thinking about selling, and I was doing that in order to drum up business for the buyers who wanted to buy in here. I have buyers for the sellers, period. And they are looking for homes in this community. It's one of the advantages of, it's one of the benefits of this channel. And I'm blessed and grateful for you guys for reaching out and hiring me. So if you are thinking of buying or selling, then please reach out. We would love to help. But my point here is I've met with and consulted with a lot of people in the last 3 months who were thinking about selling. And I told them the truth. I told them what they needed to hear, which was probably not what they wanted to hear, about what they must do in order to sell their home. And almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them, didn't want to hear that. That was not palatable to them because they believed that the market is at record highs and the market hasn't changed. What's happened from there? Those homes sat on the market. Most of those homes have either canceled the listing contract or they've gone temporarily off the market. Now, temporarily off the market means
that they don't want to cancel the listing, because if they cancel the listing, they're going to get bombarded by every realtor on the planet who's trying to prospect them for a new listing. So it is a strategy. They're never coming back on the market, but they were radically overpriced. So I've talked about that. There are a lot of listings out there. There's a lot of inventory out there that kind of skew the real market dynamics, because there are so many realtors that will take any listing at any price because they don't know any better. That does skew the data and gives you a false impression of what the market really is. But nonetheless, overpriced homes don't sell. Homes that aren't marketed the right way don't sell. And that's a fact. So I'll showcase what those homes were and what that looked like. But the truth is, and this is new, 6 months ago, all of those homes that were overpriced, they all would have sold with multiple offers that bid the price higher. You can't really see this home because they're doing landscaping in front of it. But I got the opportunity to purchase that home because it was right for me. I'm in the position to be able to pick up an investment property when I see a good deal. Now, is it the best deal? I don't know, yet to be determined. But can I be cash flow positive on that instantly? Yes. To me, that's a win. So the same advice I give to anybody else, I give to myself. If the market was to go to zero tomorrow, do I care? Or am I still happy with that investment? Yeah, I'm thrilled. Why? Because it's cash flow positive. That will be a rental property forever. And if the market gets cut in half, I don't care. If the market goes up 200%, I also don't care, because I would care, of course. I would probably get creative with what I would do with that equity, but that's a different story for a different day. And there's lots of conversations that you can have with investors, or if you've got means and you're savvy and you know what you're doing. But I priced it the right way. I got multiple offers. I didn't intend to buy the house at first, but when I saw where the market was, the deal still made sense to me. And so I paid market rate, and I'm fine with that. It's a great deal. There are opportunities that you will find if you're patient, if you're selective. And for me, that property in this neighborhood is it's like hitting the lottery. So I'm thrilled with that. All right, so enough about my win. Let's talk about what the market looks like. Let's go granular, and let's keep on trucking. All right, as I promised, we were going to do a deep dive and a comparison as to where we're at right now relative to 2019, relative to the real estate apocalypse, which was 2007, 2008. Right. So bear in mind, these are June numbers, but very instructive because the trend is not our friend. If you're looking to sell, you want to be aware of these dynamics so that you can make the best decision for yourself, for your family, and for your financial bottom line. And if you are thinking about buying, if it's right for you, you absolutely want to know exactly what those conditions are in your hyperlocal market where you're shopping, so that you have all of the information that you can maximize the leverage that may or may not exist. So here we go. All right, now this is an overview of South Palm Beach County. So I'm going big. I'm going to bring it down more granular and give you a historical perspective and comparison. But let's go. Closed sales, right? June 2021 versus 2022, down 32%. That's a big number. Okay, that's a big drop off. Why are those closed sales down? Why are those contracts falling out of contract? There can be a variety of reasons, but I suspect that in most cases has a lot to do with financing, has a lot to do with affordability, has a lot to do with appraisal misses. There's all kinds of different things that can happen for a deal to fall out of contract, but you want to be aware of what the conditions are. So a 32% dip on closed sales is a big number. This is for the South Palm Beach County area. Now, median sales price, average sales price, and you can see where I'm pointing. Both of those numbers look great. They are Completely not, well, yes, it's good news. If you are a homeowner and you see these numbers and that trend looks favorable, they are totally misleading, right? Because the buyers who were buying at that time period in June were very likely with much lower interest rates. It was a much more favorable market for them. And that's got a lot to do with why we're seeing the rest of the trends. But don't get too caught up in what those numbers are because they're misleading. Great information, but again, this is kind of confusing because that is not a good leading indicator. Okay, but nonetheless, median sales price up 26%, average sales price up almost 15%. Great. Let's look at time to contract. Well, time to contract still favorable from a seller's perspective, but it's up 25%. It went from 8 days to 10 days. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but we want to monitor that number closely because I can promise you that that number is going to increase. Pending sales, this is a big number, down 25%, right? The number of homes that are pending are dropping off a cliff, down 25%. New listings upticked radically, up 20%. That's a big deal. If you're thinking about selling, you want to be in front of that competition. You must know, I'm talking about June. July numbers are significantly higher than that. And that trend is going to continue. And when I show you the historical context relative to 2019, relative to 2007, 2008, it will be very obvious. But if you're thinking about selling, you want less competition, you want more buyers. Right now, we've got less, well, relative to the recent historical back in 2019, it's still a very favorable seller's market, but there are more selective buyers and there are less of them. Okay, new listings up 20%. Inventory of homes for sale up 24%. Month supply of inventory up 53%. This is a trend that is continuing to escalate. 2.3 months is still a seller's market, but a 53% jump in June, I can promise you that's going to look very different in July, August, and moving forward. So the month supply is increasing. If you are shopping for a home that is favorable to you to get the deal you want because you have leverage, and if you're thinking about selling, there's going to be a lot more competition. Now, this is the big enchilada. This is the macro number. Let's bring it down. Let's go and see what it looks like in Boynton Beach. Boynton Beach, June 2022. Let's see if I can make that more optimal. Here we go. All right, playing games with my screen. All right, so again, this is last month's number. Closed sales down 32%. Big number. Same reasons, right? Less favorable conditions. Economic conditions definitely have an impact on that. Interest rate sensitivity has a big impact on that. Fear, uncertainty, recession, inflation, and a partridge in a pear tree. All the bad stuff. That's why closed sales are down. Median sales price, misleading number, up 24%. Average sales price, again, uptick 22%. Misleading number, don't get caught in that. That's a trap. That's not instructive. What is instructive is the amount of new listings that are coming on the market and the pending sales, right? Pending sales down 21%, actually 21.6, so we round that up, 22. Pending sales down 22%. That you must be aware of. New listings up 14%. Inventory of homes up 40%. Big number. Boynton Beach, month supply of inventory, still seller's market, still very favorable. Went from 1 month to 1.8 months. That's up 80%. That's a big jump. I watch it in my neighborhood. I've seen, and I talked about it earlier in the video, lots of people thinking about selling, lots of people on the fence, lots of people overpricing their homes, lots of canceled listings, lots of temporarily withdrawn listings, lots of unhappy sellers. And, a lot of realtors don't do their job governing the process the right way. But that's what Boynton Beach looks like. Now, here's where it gets the most interesting, and this is where I think it gives us the most data, because the truth is we are going backwards. We can look in the past to see what the future will look like. Can we do that with 100% accuracy? No, because we don't know what this next cycle looks like. There's a lot of things that have been done that have never been done before. So is it possible it could be as bad? Yes. Is it possible that it could be even worse? It's possible. Do I think that's going to happen here? I don't really think so, but as evidenced by the numbers I'm about to share, it's happened before, it can happen again, and we don't know. What I do know is by the time this video has come out, we'll know what the Fed has done, we'll know what interest rates have done in reaction to that, but chances are we're looking at much higher interest rates. All right, so now we've got a little bit more historical context. Now I broke these numbers down on a quarterly basis by year so that we can get the trends of what it looked like in the past. And what you'll see, obviously, is a massive spike back in 2007, 2008. This is the months of inventory based on closed sales relative to the last 15 years. And as you can see where my cursor is pointing, we're looking at, let's call it 2 months of inventory right now, right? If you go back to 2019, it looked more like 6 months of inventory. That's where I believe we're going back to. If we go back a little bit further in the quarter in 2018, which is the third quarter, we're looking at 10 months of inventory. Well, that is what the new normal will look like, in my opinion. So before you get all caught in the headline news of what things are going to be, obviously you want to be prudent, you want to be informed, but I suspect other markets are going to go whacked way worse than this. I don't think that we're going to see the apocalypse here, but I could be wrong. Let's see what the apocalypse looked like. In terms of months of inventory, back in 2007, 2008, there was 115 months of inventory at the worst point in the market crash. And that's what it was. So can it go back there? Yes. Is it going to go back there? Yet to be determined. I don't know. There have been so many other things that have happened in the economy and all over the place that I can't predict what the future is going to look like, but I can tell you what the past looked like. So my belief, we're going back to 2019, 2018 numbers, but this is what it looked like back in the worst part of the crash, which was 2007, 2008. Now, let's drill that down a little bit more to see what it looked like as far as for sale versus sold, okay? Because this is also instructive. Right now, what you're going to see is this light green line, again, broken down by quarter, by year, and sold. So right now, you can see, so this is where we're at now relative to where we were at when the market was super hot, right? When it was the extreme seller's market, when you got the multiple bidding wars, where you got hundreds of showings, hundreds of contracts, it was the frenzy. And what you'll see is that the sold bar is greater than the for sale bar. And with that, you saw insane conditions, right? That was the frenzy, and that was not sustainable. And now what you see is a supply increase, which is a big jump relative to where it was, and a big decrease in the sold bar. So this is where we're at. This is just another way for me to illustrate what that looks like. But now let's go back to so this is now, right? This was the summer. Excuse me, no, this wasn't the summer. This was the earlier part of the year when rates were very favorable, and this is right now. And if I had to guesstimate what this next trend line will look like, it's going to be higher on the light green and lower on the dark green. And that will continue into the future. What will that look like? Well, if we go back to 2019 and we go back to 2018, and if we go back to 2017 or 16, what you'll see is there are many more homes for sale and a lot less sales. So
I think we're going to be going back to 2019. And what did that look like? And this is specific to my zip code, right? This is just getting hyper local in 33437. The reason for that, all of the communities that exist within that zip code are similar to mine. Resort style amenities, luxury homes, gated communities. They all have HOAs. They're all either 55 plus luxury communities with those features and benefits, or their family neighborhoods where, similar to mine, right? And this is single family homes. So if we go back to 2018, 2019, 2017, you're looking at close to 100 plus homes for sale, and anywhere from 20 to 30 sales within that quarter, right? So big supply of homes, far less sales. That's where we were at. That's where we're going back to. Now, if we want to see what it looked like when the ish hit the fan, 2007, we had 20 homes for sale, no sales. 45 homes for sale, no sales. 80 homes for sale, no sales. Or maybe there's a little green, so maybe there was one sale here or there. Fine. But basically, huge supply, nothing selling. And it looked like that for a long time. So 2007 to about 2000, started to uptick a little bit in 2008, but there was a long period of time where there was a massive supply of homes and nothing sold. Do I think we're going back to that dynamic anytime soon? I do not. Could it be that bad? Yes. Could it be worse? Yes. Yet to be determined. But let's now look at what that looks like as far as average price for sale and sold. This is instructive, right? Here we go. So red is sold, green is for sale, right? In terms of average price. So you can see as we've gone through this cycle, you will see that prices, especially during the pandemic, have gone way up here, and now they are dropping. Very interesting. And the trend line of sold is dipping, and will they intersect? Yet to be determined. But what I can tell you is, for certain, there will be more supply, there will be less demand, period. There are still people in this market right now that are buying homes. I just bought one. If it's right for you, then absolutely make that purchase. Because if you're using financing, those interest rates moving forward are going to be significantly higher. I believe we're going back to 2019, where you'll have more choices, you'll have more leverage. But if you're if you're buying, congratulations, your prudence, your patience will be rewarded. If you're looking to sell, you want to be in front of this massive supply that is absolutely going to uptick. All right, so this is a hyper local drill down into my specific zip code, right? So this is 33473, which is the zip code in which I live. And this is instructive because the inventory in this zip code tends to be very similar. The communities are very similar. Resort style communities, tremendous amenities, gated communities, luxury homes, some newer, some a little bit older. But I'm just trying to think of, I think the oldest community within the canyons goes back to 2005. And then there are some newer communities, some 55 plus communities, but most of them have been built by GL. They're very similar in style and feel. And so I think it's helpful to just be aware of that as we analyze this data, right? But this is exactly what it looked like from a historical perspective, looking at today's market relative to 2019, 2018, and then of course, back when
when the apocalypse happened. But let's look at it, right? So this chart demonstrates via bar graph for sale, sold, and pended in. It's broken down by quarter, by year, and the light green is for sale, the dark green is sold, and the red is pended. Okay. So right now, let's look at where we're at. This quarter that we're in right here clearly shows that there are a lot more homes for sale relative to what's sold. And the pending trend is downward. Again, this is a lagging number. This is in the past. This is yesterday's news. This is not what the future looks like. In the future, I can guarantee you that this light green line of for sale homes in the next quarterly report is going to be much higher. This dark green line, which is the sold, is going to be much lower, and the pended will also trend lower too. And that's because of all the reasons that we've been talking about throughout this video, which is that there are less buyers. The financing terms are less favorable. People are afraid and have fear and uncertainty around what the recession looks like and what impact that will have on them, inflation, layoffs, etc. But it's the fear of the unknown, right? So this trend will continue. I expect it will continue to increase in a way which is favorable if you're looking to buy, and it's right for you. If you're thinking about selling, this is clear demonstration of why it is important that you get in front of the upcoming supply of homes that are absolutely going to hit the market, because that's your competition. Now we can do lots of things to create a market within a market, but less competition is optimal for you to get what you want. So, all right, so that's where we're at right now. But if we look at the more recent past, you'll see the frenzy. It's obvious, well, at least it's obvious to me, and I hope it demonstrates itself through this chart. But what you'll see is back when things were nuts, back when people were, there were hundreds of contracts, there were hundreds of showings. We had a listing at one point that had, I'm not kidding, this is not an over exaggeration, this is not a broker lie ratio, this is the truth. We had a property in Wellington that had over 200 showings in one day. The sellers called me crying and begged me to make it stop. And of course, we got the multiple offers and set a record in the community and all those things. But that's how crazy it was. It was just insanely intense. And also, full disclosure, they said that's what they wanted. I can control the flow and showing schedule, but they said they wanted everybody to come. Everybody came, and they were just overwhelmed by it. And that's what the market was like. There was a tremendous amount of demand from buyers willing to do whatever it took to get their home under contract, their dream home under contract, and sellers had all the leverage. That is not true today. It is still true in some cases, but it's less true, and that will continue to play itself out. So, all right, so let's just look at what that was, right? You can see here, going back to 2021, right? The supply low, solds high. Supply low, solds high. Supply low, solds high. Supply starting to creep up, sold still high, and then it flipped, and now it's flipped again. So 2 quarters of change. This is the shift I've been talking about for months. If you've been watching this channel, you know I've been talking about it with extreme clarity. And this is my zip code. This is my hyper local market, very granular. This is what's happening right now. This is the truth about what the market looks like. And there's a lot of people who are thinking about selling that are resistant to that, but that's on them, not me. I tell the truth, I tell it like it is, and we go from there. So things are changing, right? And you can just see those dynamics play out. Now, my belief is that we are going back to what it looked like in 2019. I believe that is what the new normal will look like. And what was that like as far as market dynamics? Well, if we go back here to 2019, what you'll see is there's a lot more homes for sale and a lot less sales. So 2019, we've got 80 homes for sale. We've got, let's call it 10. So for 80 listings, 10 sold. That is not favorable if you're thinking about selling. Lots of competition. It is very favorable if you're thinking about buying. Hopefully, interest rate and economic conditions um, um, stay intact enough for you to get your dream home and lifestyle. But it's not going to be right for everybody. And this is not going to be the way the market is everywhere. It's going to be much worse in different places. But let's continue to go backwards so we can see what it looked like in the past, so we can make some reasonable assumptions as to what could happen in the future. All right, so 2019, you had 110 homes, or excuse me, 2018, there was 110 homes for sale. 2016, 120 plus homes for sale. We're still 16, I think this is 2015, 120 homes for sale. A lot of homes for sale, right? A lot less closings. Well, that's what the market used to look like. Buyers had choices, buyers had leverage, buyers could negotiate, and sellers were not they weren't in control, they weren't in charge, they were subject to buyer demands. And that's what it looked like, and that's where we're going back to. So this is where we're at now. To be clear, still a seller's market, still not too late to get involved, but I can tell you, once these numbers hit, it's a lot more challenging for you to get what you want if you're not working with the right professionals. So govern yourself accordingly. Okay, so this is the relatively distant past, which I suspect is going to be the new normal. But let's look at what it looked like in the worst case scenario, in the apocalypse. If the market goes back to the crash that we saw in the past, which I want to be clear, it will be different this time. Although there are things that are very different from a lending perspective, the consumer is in a very different position today than they were back then. And that's yet to play itself out. I don't know what that looks like. What I can see is what happened in the past. So let's review that so that you know. So 2007, 2008, this is when the ish hit the fan, right? Okay, let's see what that looked like in my hyper local market of 33473. Well, 2000, the quarter April through June, there were 20 homes for sale, no sales. Jump to 40 plus homes for sale, no sales. Jump to 80 homes for sale. There's a very faint green line there, so perhaps there was a sale or two. But what you can see, massive amount of homes for sale and nobody buying them. That's what it looked like. That was the apocalypse. That's what we could be looking at some point in the future. I don't think that will be the case, but I don't know what the future holds because there are so many other variables that are now in play that have never been in play before. Okay, but let's just play that out a little bit more. 2008, 110 homes for sale. And again, very, very limited sales, under 10 in each of those quarters. What does that look like? Well, if you are, and let's just play this out, the recession hits, you get laid off, you are financially challenged, you're in pain, you've got lots of equity, but you're not the only one in 33473 who has those same conditions. So let's just say, and I don't know what these, I'm making this up, right? But let's just say 10% of the population in 33473 has that same pain, and they all list their homes at the same time. Well, yes, you've got equity, but now we've got dynamics that are very unfavorable to you because everybody's in pain and everybody has to sell and everybody needs to tap out of their equity. And then what will that demand look like? What will those sales look like? Yet to be determined. I don't say that to scare you. I say that to instruct you and govern you and give you the right information to start thinking about what the future looks like and what's right for you. Because if you are thinking you are at risk for those conditions, it might be the right time to sell. And buyer demand, in spite of everything that's happening right now, is still strong for the right product in the right place in our marketplace right now, as evidenced by everything I just shared in the video. And I'm watching home set records. Good homes, nice homes, updated homes sell. They sell fast, and everybody's happy. So make hay while the sun's shining. Look at the past to get a reasonable expectation as to what might happen in the future. But my thoughts are this unsustainable. What we've seen in the past, unsustainable. I think we're going back to 2018, 2019, which again, not the end of the world. Real estate always trades. There's always a market for, whether it's an international buyer, whether it's a cash buyer, whether it's an investor, real estate always trades. So there is no concern about that. But what is the most optimal thing for you and your family and your financial bottom line right now? And so that's where we're at. If you are thinking about selling, then please check out my seller's guide, which will be linked up here. And it will, one, connect you with me. Two, it will give you the most optimal things that you can do to set yourself up for success so that you find the one buyer on planet Earth willing to pay more than anybody else. If you are unfamiliar with the area, if you're not, if you don't know South Florida and you want to know everything there is to know about every city in South Florida, then please opt in for our city/relocation guide, because it's going to tell you everything that you want to know about every city in South Florida. And then from there, check out this video that I did, because I think that you're going to love it. And until next time, peace.